All right. Greetings. I think I'm all plugged in. Sorry, I blew some people's ears out yesterday with my microphone shenanigans. I apologize. But today I'm just missing some headphones being actually plugged in. But how y'all doing? Good to see you. I would love to have some stereo. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and it's good to be on time, right? We're live on Rockfin. What's up, Rockfinners? How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I saw that. Denver, I'm going to play that, I think. Am I going to play that today? I don't know if I'm... Oh, well, you gave me a tweet right there. I think I had it in my doc, but I'm not sure if I did. But very funny, though. If not frightening, right? How's Debbie Wasserman Schultz still in the game? She is one of the most ridiculous, corrupt, just out of pocket people. And she's still in power, right? I mean, that's just how it goes. Nancy Pelosi, I guess, could be included in one of those. This person is just a walking bag of corruption. That's all they are. They're not good for anything at all. They're just walking bags of corruption, and they just hang out for 20, 30 years. They hang out in Congress. Mitch McConnell. Chucky the Shoe. Joe Manchin. And now we got what, AOC and Ilhan Omar and all those other guys in the mix. How long are they going to? They're going to hang out because they're doing what they're told. They're towing the company line. Oh, Debbie is one of the worst. Yes, Debbie is just horrifically bad. What's up? We're live on Callin too. Yeah, I agree with you, Carnal. Compulsory term limits should become a thing. Yes. I don't know. There was a conversation about term limits. I don't know when it was. It was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It was a thing. Oh, term limits. And they like kind of sort of passed some laws, or maybe they didn't go all the way through, or they kind of passed a couple of bills like that made it seem like, yeah, we're on board with term limits. So important for the American people. And it's a joke. Those term limits are a joke. Those people stay in office and in power for decades. So there are no term limits. There's no such thing as term limits. They just keep on going. And it really should stop. It really, really should stop. Anyway. Uh, Schulte says Mansion's yacht in West Virginia is named Almost Heaven. He can go to hell though. There is a special hell, or place in hell for these people, and I hope they go there sooner than later. Ooh, did I say something harsh? They can go to hell sooner than later, for sure. What is this? This is anyways. But speaking of hell or going to hell, speaking of going to hell, did you all see this Pfizer building got destroyed? There is some justice, and I call this climate justice. I know that climate change will adversely affect quite a few people, probably, many people who don't deserve the blunt end of that stick, or the sharp end, whatever you want to call it, blunt end or sharp. It's going to hurt either way. Give me 1 second, Carnell. A lot of people will be hurt by climate change who don't deserve to be hurt by climate change, or won't even know what's going on, or won't understand what's happening. But I kind of love seeing this when the corporations go down, or structures go down due to climate change. Climate change does occasionally strike at the wealthy and the powerful. And Pfizer is one of the most, again, Pfizer is just a big walking bag of corruption known as a corporation. And they're probably, one of the worst corporations out there. Just pure evil, right? Pure evil. And so, if you wished harm on Pfizer because of their pure evilness, but you can't do anything because that would be, considering it or thinking it or, whatever, could lead to legal troubles. Then it comes along Mother Nature and she goes, I'll do that for you. Blam. So this is great. I don't think there was anybody hurt, and I'm fine with that. Actually, I don't wish harm on people. I don't wish harm on the factory, on the employees at Pfizer, the people just doing the work. But I don't know, maybe if you're working for an evil entity, does that make you evil too? I just needed the work. I just needed a job. So a bunch of people saying, hallelujah, God's great. Everybody is cheering this on. And somebody says, and people say thoughts and prayers don't accomplish anything. This is pure comedy gold. Anyways, Pfizer pharmaceutical plant in North Carolina has been destroyed by a tornado. Can we say, yay? I don't think anybody inside the building was harmed. I don't think there were any deaths or injuries. But Mother Nature coming in for the win. Thanks, Mother Nature. Appreciate you. Maybe Mother Nature can take out some other things that need taken out, right? I'm not even going to name what they are. Not even going to consider talking about what those things should be. But everybody is like, thank God. Hallelujah. Oh boy. Anyways. But I don't know. If you work for an evil corporation and you know they're evil, but maybe some people think that Pfizer is just doing a good job. Pfizer is just, you know, just out there helping people. We'll read a little more about this. Anyways, this is one of those moments when you're like, yeah, cool, great. I mean, and I don't want to see, I don't really generally like, I cheer infrastructure going down in general. I don't want to see people hurt by it, but they'll just rebuild it though. Any infrastructure that goes down, anything that happens like this, it just will immediately rebuild it. Unfortunately. Tornado heavily damaged a large Pfizer pharmaceutical plant in North Carolina on Wednesday, scattering medicine and other debris around the complex. Pfizer said its large complex in Rocky Mount was damaged by a twister that tore through Nash County. We are assessing the situation to determine the impact on production. Our thoughts are with our colleagues, our patients, and the community as we rebuild from this weather. Okay, well, of course they will rebuild. Everybody in there was safe, so nobody got hurt in this. Anyways. Good. I hope it takes them a long time to rebuild. I'm sorry you couldn't see that. All right, let's keep going. What do we have? Hold on one second. We'll take this call. North, let's. I'm going to take your call, but let's make it very short because I want to get into a long conversation. How's it going, North? Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I get the sentiment of wanting a hit to happen to Pfizer. I'm not a fan of the company at large. Doesn't really make sense though. It's kind of a cutting off your nose to spite your face.
How so?
Well, because there's a ton of medicine inside that not factory, but warehouse that people aren't going to have access to, namely neuromuscular blockers, which are like utilized in surgeries and pain management and stuff that a lot of surgeries in the immediate area or the state at large might have to be put on hold now, right? People need life-saving surgeries or even life-lengthening surgeries. They might not be able to do that anymore because they got to wait for the supply to come back, as well as just age-old antibacterials and stuff like that.
Okay, I get your point. I appreciate it. I mean, yeah, that's something to think about for sure. I mean, I don't know. There's pluses and minuses to everything that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
But thanks, man. Thanks for calling in. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I get it. A lot of people saying that they'll just get a tax write-off, they'll just rebuild it. It won't really. I don't know. I don't know, man. Sometimes you just gotta. You just gotta see it for as somewhat ironic and funny. And there's a lot of people that don't like this. Don't like this company and far worse should happen. Far worse should happen to the people that run the company, run it as a criminal enterprise, right? So I think it should be. I think it should. I would prefer that my wrath or anybody's wrath should be targeted at Albert Bourla or some the people that run this criminal enterprise and get away with it, at the expense of their own consumers, right? At the expense of the people that actually buy their products or take their products and get hurt by them, right? Anyways, what's up, William? Let's keep it quick, if you can.
Will do. For example, we have a Pfizer facility here in Groton, Connecticut. My
Yeah,
point being, Pfizer facilities all over this country. I haven't counted the number. And plus, there's pharmacies and warehouses. The idea that destruction of that one Pfizer building is going to interrupt and stop people from having surgeries in that state. There's overnight shipping. There's, even faster if you need it. I'm sure that has not interrupted anything. Because you might even find another Pfizer facility in a neighboring state where they could drive it across or fly it across in no time.
right.
So I think God has a purpose of sending messages like
Yeah.
when he strikes it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you, and I'm sure they're, maybe they took a hit, but probably not that big of a hit. And it's also kind of like, it's like if a wealthy person's home falls into the sea, people could probably say like, well, what about all the people that worked there and had jobs there? They're out of they're out of work. I mean, you could find, a reason to be, that somehow this isn't a good thing. But I mean, I don't care if, like if a wealthy person's home and, maybe they're really nice people. I don't know. But if a wealthy person's home falls into the sea, I'm going to laugh anyways. I don't really care. I just don't really care. I don't care to know if they're like, they were nice people or they were really great philanthropists or like, no, we shouldn't be building, for one thing, wealthy people shouldn't own the beaches and shouldn't be building homes right against the ocean where everybody else cannot do that. Right. And it's just, whatever. It is what it is. I'm going to enjoy the moment myself. I don't know if people are going to feel bad for the people that work there, or nobody was hurt, or the people that get the medicines. I don't care. Pfizer took a hit. Yay! I don't care. I don't really care.
Right, and I would simply say the hospital has more than one aspirin or vial of whatever. They have storage. There's neighboring hospitals. It's highly unlikely until we get a report back that no one could have a surgery because of that one plant being destroyed. I mean, as much as I appreciate the caller's son, I don't think it's legitimate.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right, thanks, William. Thanks for the call. I gotta cover some other stories here before we get to the midpoint of the show. But anyways, a lot of people were rejoicing over this. So, all right, let's keep going. This is, I mean, there's just, if you want to see that the climate is in a state of the climate is in a state of frenzy on some level. There's so many of these videos going on Twitter of just destruction, utter destruction. Footage from Zagreb, the climate bomb is primed, and this is along with killer heat waves. It's now playing out. So a lot of people are suffering all over Europe and China and India from massive, massive storms and heat at the same time, which really sucks. And it's got to be quite uncomfortable. Rome experienced some very high temperatures. by 2 degrees Celsius. That's statistically crazy. It shows we're living on a new planet. 42.9 C, 109 degrees in Rome. That's a new record. More on Italy being very warm. Italy is a furnace. The entire country is under extreme heat warnings. Agriculture cannot be sustained with temperatures staying this high for long. Plants become denatured and fruit cooks in the fields. That's absolutely true. It's hard to grow food when it gets too hot. We're talking about 45 on Sicily, 45 degrees in some places. 44 is 42, 40. These are very, very warm temperatures. Cornel West was recently on. Cornel West is running for president on top of the Green Party ticket, and had a long conversation with Anderson Cooper. But there was, and he's, there was. This is 13 minutes long, so I cannot play the whole thing. But there was an interesting point in here in which Cornel West said that the bombing of Grozny in Ukraine was somehow a horrible crime against humanity, and on some levels, sure, but that you couldn't compare that to the bombing of Iraq. And like everybody was like, "What?" The bombing of Iraq was far worse. Millions of people died. And and it was an ongoing occupation and just absolute destruction by the U.S. against a country that couldn't even defend itself. Really, like there was no defense in Iraq. We just went in and pummeled them. So that was actually more of a slaughter. And somehow, in Anderson Cooper's mind, it was Grozny was worse. So I don't know. Let's see if I can find the part. I don't know if I can find the part. But people were kind of amazed that he said this. I don't know why I can't hear this. Sorry, trying to get some sound on this. I haven't had this problem in a while. But today, maybe I'm having this problem. A lot of people were upset at Cornel West for being so cordial. God dang it. Why can't I get sound? This happens to me all the time on Twitter. Here we go. He's pointing out that Joe Biden is a racist. But he's like, I'm not trying to trash him. I'm just trying to point out that he's historically super racist and has voted for extremely racist bills, and including, and he also voted to send people to Iraq. Oh, it was a mistake. Oops, we didn't mean to do that.
I'm trying to make him accountable for his actions in light of how the wretched of the earth are treated in this nation and around the world. And that's true for any politician, be it Obama, Biden, Clinton, Bush, Trump. All of them have to be measured by the same standard of truth and justice.
I want to ask you about the war in Ukraine, because I saw you tweeted out, you said NATO is an expanding instrument of U.S. global power that provoked Russia into a criminal invasion and occupation of Ukraine. You You said this proxy war between the American Empire and the Russian Federation could lead to World War III. We must stop the war and war crimes, including cluster bombs used by all parties, and embark on diplomatic talks that should lead to a just peace. You believe, I mean, how are you going to bring both sides of the table on Ukraine? And do you really believe that NATO provoked Russia into invading Ukraine?
Well, when Russia was promised that NATO would not move 1 inch, and then a few years later, you got 13 former Soviet.
But wait a minute. But you're talking about in 1990, there was an agreement signed that right. NATO would not move into East Germany, but actually nothing was said about further east. And it was at the very least it was ambiguous. You can there's an argument to be made.
Listen to Anderson Cooper try and weasel his little weaselly butt. Weasel his what Oh well, it was ambiguous, and he said not 1 inch further to the east. That's what the agreement was said. That's what was said. He was like, well, they were talking about East Germany. No, fool. They were talking about NATO. NATO, period, in Europe. Like, oh, and that was a long time ago. Yeah, well, okay. Should we scrap nuclear treaties that were made a long time ago just because it was a long time ago?
Formal and informal talks, but I mean, the great George Kennan, who's probably at the finest minds of the establishment when it comes to foreign affairs. He said he doesn't understand why NATO needs to exist any longer because it's defensive. Well, the collapse of the Soviet Empire meant, in fact, you no longer even needed NATO. Europe could come up with its own security, but
it doesn't seem like that because
as an arm of the American Empire. That's the challenge.
You don't believe, though, that the people of Ukraine right now need NATO to defend against Russian aggression?
Well, the people of Ukraine right now who are suffering, and I'm in deep solidarity with their suffering, they are being caught between this proxy war between the American Empire and the Russian Federation. Now,
but that's not really true. But Dr. West, I mean, it wasn't early on. I mean, you're far more educated than I am, but early on, it was Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary who wanted to join NATO. Warsaw Pact countries, suddenly free, did not want to be under the yoke of the former Soviet Union any longer, and they are the ones who applied to join NATO. It wasn't the U.S. pushing these countries in an expansion play. It was these countries suddenly free, the people in those countries saying, we want to be in the EU. NATO is the fastest way. It's a kind of a stepping stone in the EU. We want that. We want to turn to the West. No, would you have denied Hungary, Czechoslovakia, the choice?
Well, I mean, one, I would have followed George Kennan. I would have abolished NATO right after the collapse of the Soviet Empire, and I would have tried to welcome Russia into the nation, the community of nations, rather than trying to push them against the wall. We know that their system of repression and domination is one in which they're going to feel as if their backs are against the wall. And I think you would probably agree that if Russia or China had missiles in Canada or Mexico targeting Washington, D.C., U.S. government would blow them to smithereens. That's how empires behave.
He's on the money. And Anderson Cooper is trying his best. I heard the whole thing about Jimmy Dore just really, trouncing on Cornel West, saying his message was weak and whatever. I don't think Anderson Cooper looked very good in this. I think Cornel West's his answers were educated, were very tight philosophically, and he made his case very plainly, and I think he made some really good points. And when you had Anderson Cooper come and say that somehow, Grozny, the bombing of Grozny is worse than the bombing of Iraq, I think everybody could see how stupid that was. So, I understand Jimmy Dore's issues, and I get that. I do feel like, though, in some ways, Cornel West just allowed Anderson Cooper to look like the jerk that he is, like the shoeshine boy for the empire that he is. That's what he is. Anderson Cooper is just a shoeshine boy, and he's well-paid shoeshine boy nonetheless. But that's all he's doing. He's a bootlicker and a shoe shine boy. I guess they're the same, right? That's all he is. And Anderson Cooper just looked like a not so great. He looked his arguments were rather weak and silly and quite silly. You know, they were talking about East Germany, and it was kind of ambiguous, and it was made a long time ago, right? No. That was the agreement. We broke the agreement. Russia has every right to be upset. Period. End of story. The looking like somehow you're gonna, sugarcoat this. It doesn't look good on Anderson Cooper. I'm sorry.
You've read the history. I know
Said to him, "You're standing with the people of Ukraine in solidarity."
March 1 month after the war began.
Hold on.
To him, "You're standing with the people of Ukraine in solidarity, and you're saying that they are just victims in this proxy war." He would say, "You're out of your mind." I mean, they are thankful. They are thankful for NATO. They are thankful for the U.S. You can call it the American Empire, but I mean, they are thankful for all these countries rallying to their side. I mean, I've been there. You've probably been there as well. I mean, it is a horrible. It's an invasion. I mean, of killing civilians in cities.
Oh no, it is a criminal invasion. I'm not denying it's a criminal invasion, but what I'm saying is, you go back to the men's talks. You go back to March 1 month after the war began, my brother. I'm calling for ceasefire. I don't want to see the suffering
for a ceasefire. Vladimir Putin isn't really listening to what you say or I say or anybody says. He's doing what he wants to do, just like he slaughtered.
And that's a lie, and we know that's a lie, and everybody knows that's a lie. He's not doing whatever he wants to do. We're not allowed. He has demands. There have been peace agreements worked out. There have been negotiations worked out. There have been concessions worked out where there could be a ceasefire. There could be an end to the war. We don't want an end to it. We don't want an end to it. And that's the reality. But he's trying to make it seem like it's Putin's fault. Anyways. And what Cornel West is saying is true about Ukrainians getting the worst of this, because they're being on some levels forced to continue this war that they're losing. And there's lots and lots of footage out there of Ukrainians getting blasted, and they're not, Ukrainians getting blasted, and also Ukrainians getting, kidnapped on the streets and being sent to the front, right? There's a lot of unwilling participants in this, and most of the Ukrainians would say that they are. Quite a few would say that they're unwilling participants in this. Anyways, I can't play the whole thing because it's too long, but worth a view, I think. Worth a view. And I appreciate. I also appreciate Jimmy Dore's take on it as well. I get what he's saying. I appreciate his forthrightness on that. Just continue being forthright. There's a lot of interesting news going on here. This is from Nico House. Of course, the mainstream media hasn't covered the IRS whistleblower hearing about Joe and Hunter Biden, because the public would know the revelations showing how much Joe Biden's administration interfered with a criminal investigation of Hunter and ultimately himself. This is Nico House.
Gate to start regarding the revelations that we learned during the IRS whistleblower hearing. Maybe we could talk about the fact that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden used at least 20 different shell companies to funnel $17 million from foreign entities that were paid incrementally into their bank accounts over time. Money that is allegedly from international bribery schemes. or the fact that both whistleblowers, one being the devout Democrat, said that Hunter Biden received special treatment specifically because he is Joe Biden's son. They both take it a step further and say that even the Justice Department interfered on behalf of Hunter Biden during the investigations. We can even talk about the fact that Hunter Biden's laptop, they weren't allowed to look at it. The prosecutors prevented investigators from looking at the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop. Or perhaps the greatest revelation, the lie that was told over and over again that a Trump appointee would be in charge of the results and the direction of this case, when it turns out, according to that Trump appointee himself in a meeting, he never had any power over the direction of this case. And if he was to pursue power, he would have to go through Joe Biden's network in order to hold Hunter Biden accountable. You know you live in a fascist country when you can no longer hold fascism accountable.
All right. Good stuff from Nico House there. Rich, which scandal? I would like to talk about that, but I don't want to talk about it on YouTube. The RFK Jr. I'm not sure exactly which scandal you're talking about, but I don't know if I want to talk about it on YouTube. There was something I wanted to play about RFK actually. Well, first they were trying. There was a hearing on censorship, and then they voted to censor RFK Jr. during the hearing. And I want to play that. But then there's also a clip of he was testifying to Congress, and I would like to play both of those, but I don't want to play them yet. We're going to jump off. Give me like a couple more minutes, and we're going to jump off of YouTube and go to Rockfin, and we'll do the rest of the show on there. So a few more minutes, we're going to jump to Rockfin, okay? Let's see. But more on this, the Hunter Biden laptop thing real quick. And we're going to go back to a little bit on climate change. There was testimony around censoring Hunter Biden's laptop. A damning case was just made that censoring Hunter's laptop was taxpayer-funded election interference. And so this is a Representative Elise Stefanik, and she is interviewing or taking testimony from Emma Jo. We'll listen to this.
Ms. Morris, isn't it true that your October 2020 Hunter Biden laptop from hell story has proven to be 100% factually accurate?
I was 27 when I published that story. It better have been.
Isn't it true that the FBI obtained Hunter Biden's laptop a full 10 months before your story broke?
That's correct, according to the subpoena that I published.
Isn't it also true that we now know that the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force coerced social media companies into an alleged forthcoming Russian, quote, hack and leak operation, and as a result, illegally censored the Hunter Biden laptop story? Isn't that true?
Yes.
And this forced censorship by government agencies like the FBI was paid for by the taxpayers, since the taxpayers fund the FBI. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And Hunter Biden's laptop from hell, it has everything. It's a hellhole and cesspool of corruption and criminal conduct. It has hard drugs, prostitution, pornography, money laundering. It has Biden family shell companies, communist Chinese, corrupt foreign government, deals from tens of millions of dollars in exchange for access to the Biden family. The Hunter Biden laptop from hell has all of this, correct?
Yeah.
And the American people are smart. They know that this was not a hack and dump. This was illegal government censorship to protect and prop up Joe Biden on the eve of the 2020 election. And according to polling, of people who were now made aware of the Hunter Biden laptop story, 53% would have changed their vote, including 61% of Democrats. So do you agree that the censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story was determinative in the 2020 election, Ms. Morris?
Yeah, there are various polls that say that that there would have been a change in the outcome of the election, and obviously it's immediately relevant to a decision on who to vote for, so obviously.
And do you believe that this government censorship was election interference?
Yes, any censorship of speech prevents your ability to think clearly. Yes, of course, yes.
And there you go. And that's why they prefer censorship, because it limits your ability to think clearly. Oh yeah, Rich, I saw that. Well, let's talk about that. Let's go. We're gonna jump to. Let's discuss that, because we're gonna go to Rockfin for the last 20 minutes of the show. But before we do that, the absolute best ways to support this show. The best way is, most direct way is paypal.me/Kevin Sandblum, Venmo at Kevin Sandblum, Cash App at Red Llama Music, and buymeacoffee.com/Black Bear News. And thank you everyone that does support the show. I appreciate you. All right. Yeah, let's jump off of YouTube here. And we're going to get to Rockfin, and we'll talk about some other things. Okay, YouTubers, I'll see you tomorrow at the regular time. It's Friday.